Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into something that I know is probably on a lot of your minds, especially if you're listening to this show.
Yeah.
And it's how to find work that fits into a student's schedule.
Right.
It's tough. So we've got a bunch of sources. We've got some articles, we've got some blog posts, and we've got some advice from career counselors that we've been reading through and talking about. And the three sort of main categories of jobs that people are talking about are part-time jobs, internships, and the freelance world.
Exactly.
So maybe we could start with part-time jobs and kind of get your take on why they seem to be such a popular option for students.
Well, when you think about it, being a student is already like a full-time job,
Right.
so trying to balance your studies and then maybe even some extracurriculars or a social life on top of that.
Yeah.
Like, how do you fit in work? And so the idea of a part-time job is really appealing
Yeah.
to a lot of students because it offers, some stability.
That steady income.
Exactly. And, there is potential for flexible hours.
Yeah, that's huge. And it's interesting because even in the part-time world, with the rise of remote work, it's not just like going to the coffee shop down the street and working a few hours.
Yeah,
You can work from anywhere,
absolutely.
doing customer service or being a virtual assistant.
Mhm.
So it's like you could be a student anywhere and have a job.
Right. And it really opens up that idea of location independence,
Totally.
which I know is really appealing to this generation.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean,
Yeah.
is it all it's cracked up to be? I feel like there's got to be some downsides or challenges that come with that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's not, working from a beach in Bali every day.
Right.
There are realities, with part-time jobs, even if they're flexible.
Like what?
Well, you might have set shifts that can clash with, if you have a surprise study session come up or, a big exam you need to study for.
Yeah.
Or even you just dealing with last-minute schedule changes.
Oh, yeah. That's always fun.
Right. So it's about setting realistic expectations.
Right.
And being prepared to adapt.
Makes sense. So, we've talked about this steady income and the flexible hours, but what about internships?
Right.
Those seem like they're more about the long game.
Exactly. Yeah, they might not always offer, the best pay, or sometimes they're even unpaid.
Right.
But the real value is in building that industry experience and expanding your professional network.
So it's like that investment in your future career?
Exactly. And, having those internships on your resume
Yeah,
can give you a real leg up in the job market after graduation.
for sure. It's like you're developing the skills employers are looking for.
Right. And those connections, those networks.
Yep, that everyone always talks about.
Yeah.
But it can't be easy balancing an internship with a full course load.
It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
It might mean sacrificing some free time,
Yeah.
carefully planning your schedule.
Maybe even working with an academic advisor to figure out how to make it all work.
Absolutely.
Mm.
But if you can find an internship that really aligns with your passions and your long-term goals, the payoff can be immense.
I can see that for sure. And speaking of aligning with your passions, that's where freelancing comes in.
Yes.
And I mean, we've all seen it's exploding in popularity,
Right.
especially in fields like graphic design or writing, even coding.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody's doing it. And it's got to be because of that. You're your own boss. You
Exactly.
set your own hours.
Right.
Choose your projects.
Right.
Like that's got to be so appealing.
It's definitely a huge part of the appeal because it gives you that, flexibility and that control
Yeah.
to really tailor your work around your academic schedule.
But let's be real. I mean, it's not all, sunshine and rainbows.
Of course not.
Freelancing takes work.
You need serious self-discipline
Yeah.
to manage deadlines,
Right.
meet client expectations.
And you're marketing yourself,
Absolutely.
all while keeping up with your studies.
So time management skills on steroids.
For sure, and for sure.
Right.
So, I mean, before we kind of get into how to actually get these different types of jobs,
Right.
I think it'd be cool to hear some real-life student success stories.
Yeah.
Kind of see how these different work styles can actually work in the real world.
Yeah, totally agree. Stories can be so powerful.
So do you have any that you want to share?
Let's start with Alex, a computer science student who found a remote part-time tech support job.
Okay.
And, we were talking about the beauty of remote work.
Yeah?
Well, Alex was able to, work from their dorm room,
Wow.
fit in those shifts around classes and even those, late night study sessions.
So flexible.
Right.
That's awesome. Okay, so Alex is kind of proving that the remote part-time work can be a game changer for students.
Mm-hmm.
What about some other examples?
Okay, we have Sarah, a business student who landed an internship with a local startup.
Okay.
And remember how we talked about the importance of planning?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sarah was super proactive. She worked closely with her academic advisor to create a schedule that allowed her to intern 3 days a week without, derailing her studies.
Smart.
Right?
So she was strategic about it.
Exactly.
What was the payoff for her? Like, was it worth all that planning?
Totally. Not only is she gaining, real-world experience,
Right.
but she's actually getting course credit for the internship.
Oh, wow.
And the best part, she's building a network that could lead to a full-time job offer after graduation.
Nice.
So talk about a win-win.
Yeah, win-win for sure. Okay, so we've got Alex working remotely part-time, Sarah strategically planning her internship. What about somebody who went the freelance route?
So we have James, an art major,
Okay.
who decided to embrace freelancing.
Okay.
And he actually used social media
Smart.
very cleverly to offer commissioned artwork, and he would, work on projects during his free time.
So he's building his portfolio.
Absolutely, and generating income.
Nice. And so, I feel like what we're seeing here is that there isn't really a one-size-fits-all.
Exactly.
It's about finding what works for you
Right.
and your individual circumstances.
And sometimes that means thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
Getting creative.
Totally. Okay, so let's talk about presenting yourself to potential employers.
Okay.
Like, how can a student really stand out from the crowd?
You want to portray yourself as someone who is reliable and organized and eager to learn.
Of course.
Qualities that any employer would value.
Right. Especially in a student.
Right. But how do you actually showcase those qualities?
Yeah. How do you go beyond just saying, I'm a hard worker?
Well, let's start with time management.
Okay.
That's a skill every student hones just by surviving.
That's true.
Right? So instead of just saying you're good at it, quantify it.
Okay.
Give specific examples.
Give me an example.
Like you could say, I successfully balance 15 credit hours, a 20-hour-a-week job, and volunteer work.
Oh,
Right.
that's impressive.
Exactly.
Okay, so don't be vague. Be specific and quantify it.
Yes. And another thing, don't be afraid to showcase your flexibility.
Oh, that's a good one as a student. Your schedule might change from semester to semester.
Right. And employers understand that. So being upfront about any limitations you might have,
Okay.
while also demonstrating your willingness to adapt and adjust your hours, can go a long way.
So it's about being honest and proactive.
Exactly.
I bet showing genuine enthusiasm is a big deal, too.
Oh, absolutely. Employers love to see passion.
Right.
And a desire to learn and grow.
Especially in those entry-level roles.
Especially when you might not have a ton of experience.
Yeah.
Your enthusiasm can really make you stand out.
It's contagious.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked about the different types of jobs. We've heard some real-life examples.
Right.
And even how to present yourself effectively.
Yes.
What's next?
Well, let's talk about job interviews.
Oh, yeah. The dreaded job interview.
How can our listener ace those while still, rocking their studies?
Yeah, because interviewing on top of everything else is like,
It's a lot.
it's a lot.
So where do you even start?
Yeah, where do you even start?
Well, one of the best things you can do is prepare a flexible schedule in advance.
Okay, so like knowing your available hours,
Exactly.
being upfront about any limitations.
But it's not just about setting those boundaries.
Yeah.
It's also showcasing your willingness to adjust those hours as needed,
Okay,
especially during less demanding academic periods.
like summer break or winter holidays.
Exactly.
Got it. So it's like a balancing act,
It is.
showing you're responsible but also adaptable.
Precisely.
Okay, what else?
Here's another tip that can really help you stand out, connect your studies to the job you're interviewing for.
Oh, that's a good one.
Wow.
Like, for example, if you're a marketing major
Yes.
and you're applying for social media internship, you can talk about how your coursework
Right.
has given you, a deep understanding of target audiences or content strategy.
Exactly. It shows the interviewer that you're not just looking for any job.
Right.
You're strategically choosing opportunities that align with your academic pursuits
Yeah.
and your future career goals.
That's like you're telling them, I'm not just here for a paycheck.
Right.
I'm here to learn and grow.
Exactly.
I like that.
And finally, here's a piece of advice that's often easier said than done. Stay confident.
Oh, man. Tell me about it.
I know job interviews can be so nerve-wracking.
Especially when you're a student. You got all this other stuff going on.
Absolutely. But try to remind yourself that being a working student
Yeah.
is an incredibly impressive feat in itself.
It's true.
You're demonstrating responsibility, time management, dedication.
Wow. I never even thought of it that way.
Right.
Just by being a student who's also working, you're already showcasing so many qualities
Absolutely.
that employers are looking for.
So walk into that interview with your head held high,
Yeah.
knowing that you bring a unique set of skills and perspectives to the table.
Love it.
You got
You
this.
got this. All right. So before we wrap up this section on interviewing,
Yeah.
there's a quote that we came across in all this material
Uh-huh.
that really stuck with me. And I think it's so relevant to what we're talking about today.
Oh, I love a good motivational quote.
Yeah, it is. It's opportunities don't happen. You create them.
Powerful stuff and so true.
Right.
It reminds us that we have the power to shape our own destinies.
Yes,
You know, finding a job that truly works for us as students might take extra effort,
for sure.
but it's achievable
Absolutely.
with the right mindset and, that proactive hustle.
Exactly. So what does this all mean for our listener out there?
Right.
Navigating the job search while balancing this busy student life.
It means that finding a job that's both fulfilling and accommodating to your academic schedule is possible.
It takes some strategic planning,
Yes.
a willingness to adapt, and, a whole lot of that signature student determination.
And remember, you don't have to go through this journey alone.
That's true.
There are resources available to help you every step of the way.
Like what?
Well, like career counseling services at your university,
Right.
online job boards that are specifically geared towards students,
Mm-hmm.
and even your own network of friends, family, and professors.
Oh, yeah. Don't underestimate the power of networking.
Absolutely. You never know who might have a lead. It's
Yeah.
a great opportunity.
Totally. So before we wrap up this deep dive,
Mm-hmm.
I want to leave our listener with a final thought to ponder.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about the practical steps, finding a job.
Right.
But I think it's equally important to reflect on your personal strengths.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and your passions.
Yes.
Think about what truly motivates you.
Mm-hmm.
What skills come naturally to you?
Right.
What kind of work environment do you thrive in?
These are crucial questions to ask yourself.
They are because, as you're exploring different job options,
Yeah.
you've got to tailor your approach to those potential employers.
So it's about aligning your job search with your authentic self.
Exactly, because when you're genuinely excited about the work you're doing, it doesn't feel like just a job anymore.
Right.
It becomes an extension of your passions
Yes.
and a valuable part of your overall student experience.
That's beautifully said.
Yeah.
Finding work that aligns with your values and interests can really enhance your time in school.
Right.
And set you up for a more fulfilling career path in the long run.
Yeah. And who knows, it might even spark a newfound passion
Exactly.
or lead you down a path you never even expected.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, the beauty of exploration and embracing those opportunities.
Absolutely.
All right, so on that note, we'll wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We hope that you're feeling informed and inspired
Yes.
and ready to tackle your job search with confidence.
And find work that truly works for you.
Exactly. And remember, as we heard earlier, opportunities don't happen. You create them.
So go out there and make it happen.
You got this. We're cheering you on.
Every step of the way.
All right, we'll be back with part 2 of this deep dive soon.
See you then. Okay, so we left off talking about how to really nail those job interviews.
Right. And I feel like that's where things can get really tricky for students because you're already stressed about school, and then you add this whole other layer of stress.
Yeah, it's a lot to juggle.
It is. So do you have any tips on how to kind of manage that whole interview process while you're in the thick of, midterms and all that?
Absolutely. One of the most important things you can do, and it sounds simple, but so many students overlook it, is prepare a flexible schedule in advance.
Okay, so knowing your available hours and being upfront about that right from the start.
Exactly. But it's not just about setting those boundaries.
Okay.
It's also about showcasing your willingness to adjust those hours as needed, especially during, less demanding academic periods like summer break or winter holidays.
Right. So you're showing them that you're responsible with your time, but also adaptable and committed to making things work.
Precisely.
Like that. Okay. What else?
And another tip that can really help you stand out is connecting your studies to the job you're interviewing for.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in college and I was interviewing for a marketing internship, I would always talk about how my classes were giving me, all this knowledge about target audiences and, digital marketing and stuff.
That's a perfect example because it shows the interviewer that you're not just looking for any job. You're strategically choosing opportunities that align with what you're learning in school and what you want to do in the future.
Right. It's like you're saying,
Yeah.
hey, I'm not just here for a paycheck. I'm actually interested in this field and I'm trying to learn and grow.
Exactly. And that makes a big impression.
Okay. So we've got, be prepared with a flexible schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Connect your studies to the job.
Yep.
What else?
And finally, here's a piece of advice that's often easier said than done. Stay confident.
Ooh, confidence. I feel like that's something that a lot of students struggle with, especially when you're just starting out and you don't have a ton of experience.
It's totally natural to feel nervous, especially when you're juggling school and everything else. But
Y-
try to remind yourself that just by being a working student,
Yeah.
you're already demonstrating a really high level of responsibility, time management, and dedication.
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
Right.
It's like just by doing that, you're already proving that you have these qualities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So walk into that interview with your head held high, knowing that you bring something unique to the table.
Yeah, you got this.
You got this.
Okay, so much good advice there. And actually, before we move on, there's this quote
Okay.
that we found in the material we've been looking at that I think is so perfect for this conversation.
I always love a good motivational quote.
It is. It's
Yeah.
opportunities don't happen, you create them.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right.
It's a good reminder that we have the power to shape our own destinies.
Exactly.
Finding a job that works for us as students might take some, extra effort.
For sure.
But it's totally possible with the right mindset and that proactive hustle.
I love that. Okay, so as we're wrapping up this whole conversation about finding work that works for you,
Mm-hmm.
what does this all mean for our listener who's out there, trying to navigate the job search
Right.
while also balancing everything that comes with being a student?
It means that finding a job that's both fulfilling and accommodating to your academic schedule is totally possible.
Yeah, it might take some strategic planning,
Mm-hmm.
some willingness to adapt, and of course, a whole lot of that student determination.
And it's important to remember you don't have to go through this alone.
Right.
There are so many resources available to help you every step of the way.
Like what?
Well, you've got career counseling services at your university.
Yeah.
You've got online job boards that are specifically geared towards students.
Yep.
And, of course, your own network of friends, family, professors.
Well, yeah, don't underestimate the power of networking.
It's so important. You never know who might have a lead on the perfect opportunity.
Totally. So true. Before we wrap up this whole deep dive,
Hmm.
I want to leave our listener with one final thought to kind of ponder.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about, the practical steps
Mhm.
of finding a job, but I think it's equally important to really take some time to reflect on your personal strengths
I love that.
and your passions.
Yes.
Like what truly motivates you?
Right.
What skills come naturally to you?
Yeah.
What kind of work environment do you thrive?
These are such important questions to ask yourself.
They are, because as you're exploring those different job options
Mm.
and tailoring your approach to potential employers,
Mm-hmm.
you really want to make sure that it aligns with who you are.
It's about aligning your job search with your authentic self.
Exactly, because when you're genuinely excited about the work you're doing, it doesn't feel like just a job anymore.
Right.
It's like an extension of your passions.
Yes.
And a valuable part of your overall student experience.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And, finding work that aligns with your values and interests can really enhance your time in school
Absolutely.
and set you up for a more fulfilling career path in the long run.
Yeah, and who knows, it might even spark a newfound passion
Exactly.
or lead you down a path you never expected.
The beauty of exploration and embracing those opportunities.
Totally. All right, so on that note, we're going to wrap up this part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Hopefully you're feeling informed and inspired
Yes.
and ready to tackle that job search.
And find work that truly works for you.
It's exactly. We'll be back soon with the third and final part of this deep dive.
See you then.
Okay, so we're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into finding work that works for you as a student.
It's been quite a journey.
It has.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground, from those different types of jobs.
Right. Part-time internships, freelance.
Best to present yourself effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Even some tips on acing those interviews.
Absolutely.
But before we officially sign off, I want to circle back to that idea of self-reflection.
Yeah. Really taking the time to think about what you want out of a job.
Exactly. Because it's so easy to get caught up in, the applications, the interviews, the whole process.
The logistics.
Yeah, that we forget to ask ourselves, what am I actually passionate about? What kind of work do I actually want to be doing?
Totally.
Yeah.
I think it's crucial to connect your job search to your values and your passions and what you ultimately want to achieve.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're not just looking for any job.
Right.
You're looking for an experience that actually adds value to your life.
Exactly. It should be something that you're excited about, something that motivates you.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to remember that finding that perfect job that,
Mm.
ticks all the boxes
Mm-hmm.
might not happen right away.
It's a process.
Yeah.
It's a journey.
And sometimes it takes time,
Yeah.
and a little bit of persistence and maybe even a willingness to adapt along the way.
And it's okay if it takes time.
Absolutely.
I think there's so much pressure on students these days to have it all figured out.
Yeah, like you're supposed to know exactly what you want to do with your life
Right.
right out of the gate.
But the reality is, it's okay to not know.
It really is. It's about exploring those different options.
Yeah.
And figuring out what works for you.
And even, maybe trying something and realizing it's not the right fit.
Right.
That's valuable too.
Absolutely. Because even those experiences that don't work out exactly as planned, they teach you something.
Right. They give you those insights that you can then use to, refine your search and figure out what you actually want. Exactly. So embrace the journey.
Love it.
Each experience is a stepping stone.
Okay, so big picture.
Yeah.
What's our final takeaway for our listener today? What do we want them to walk away with?
I want them to walk away feeling empowered.
Yeah.
Like knowing that they can find a job that fits into their student life and their aspirations.
And that it's possible.
It is absolutely possible. You just need the right approach, the right mindset, and a little bit of, that proactive hustle.
Yes. And don't forget those resources
Oh, so important.
that we talked about, your career counseling services, online job boards,
Right.
and of course your network.
Never underestimate the power of your network.
So true. Reach out to people.
Talk to everyone.
You never know who might have a lead or some advice that could really make a difference.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of our deep dive.
Wow, time flies.
It really does. We've covered so much ground, but I hope you found this conversation helpful and inspiring as you're navigating this whole world of work and, trying to make it all work with your student life.
We're cheering you on.
We are. You got this.
You got this.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.